Time blurs. Days or hours, he can't tell. The relentless march of seconds becomes a meaningless jumble. Is it Tuesday? Or has a week already bled into the next? The very concept of sequential time seems to dissolve around him, leaving only a hazy, indistinct present. Arthur masters emotional suppression, a desperate attempt to maintain some semblance of control in a world spiraling into chaos. He becomes a statue, a fortress of will, determined to bury any flicker of fear or despair that might threaten to overwhelm him. Surviving, but losing his humanity. Each suppressed emotion chips away at his core, leaving him a hollow shell, a ghost of the man he once was. He's becoming an observer, detached and distant, watching his own existence fade into the background. One question remains: what happens when the clock stops? What happens when the very thing that defines his existence, the source of his torment and his power, ceases to be? Does he cease to be as well? Or does something else entirely await him? He lets go, surrendering to the inevitable, releasing the iron grip he held on his emotions. He allows himself to feel, to experience the full spectrum of his being, no matter how terrifying. Unleashing every bottled emotion, a torrent of rage, sorrow, joy, and love floods his senses, a chaotic symphony of feeling that threatens to consume him. He's a dam breaking, a volcano erupting, finally free from the constraints he imposed upon himself. The room collapses, mirroring the internal destruction, the shattering of his carefully constructed defenses. The very foundations of his reality crumble around him, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. The clock spins wildly, its hands a blur of motion, reflecting the turmoil within him. Time itself seems to lose all meaning, twisting and distorting as his emotions reach a fever pitch. Walls closing in as midnight approaches. The pressure mounts, the space constricting, as the final moments tick away. He's trapped, suffocated by his own emotions, hurtling towards an unknown destiny. The clock strikes 12, then nothing. Silence. Emptiness. The world fades to black, leaving only a void where time and space once existed. He opens his eyes in a padded cell, the stark white walls a jarring contrast to the darkness he just experienced. The soft surfaces offer no escape, no purchase, only a sterile, suffocating confinement. Observed by men in lab coats, their faces are impassive, their eyes scrutinizing as they study him like a specimen under glass. He's a puzzle to be solved, a case study to be analyzed, his humanity reduced to a series of data points. The room didn't change with his fear. It remained stubbornly, maddeningly the same, a constant reminder of his powerlessness. The external world refused to bend to his will, mocking his attempts to control it. His fear changed him. Or did it? Did the room truly remain static? Or was it his perception that shifted, his mind twisting reality to fit his own internal landscape? The line between objective truth and subjective experience blurs, leaving him questioning everything he thought he knew. In the mirror, he sees only a gray, empty room, a reflection of the emptiness within himself. The lack of color, the absence of detail, speaks to the void that has consumed his soul. And a single clock ticking on the wall, a constant, unwavering reminder of the passage of time, even in this desolate place. Is it a lifeline, a connection to reality, or a tormentor, counting down the moments of his confinement? Now, Arthur tests the limits of his control. He reaches out with his mind, probing the boundaries of his reality, searching for the edges of his prison. Can he still manipulate the world around him? Or has his power been stripped away, leaving him utterly helpless? A flicker of anxiety brings the walls closer. The familiar sensation of claustrophobia washes over him, the room shrinking, the air growing thin. His power, it seems, is still tied to his emotions, a dangerous and unpredictable force. Forced calm pushes them back. He fights against the rising panic, focusing his mind, drawing on the techniques he learned to suppress his emotions. Slowly, painstakingly, the walls begin to recede, the room expanding, the pressure easing. He turns to the clock, the source of his power, his tormentor, his constant companion. Its ticking speeds up with panic, a frantic rhythm that mirrors his racing heart. The faster it ticks, the more the room constricts, the more his anxiety spirals out of control. Slows with peace. As he calms himself, the ticking slows, the room expands, and a fragile sense of control returns. He experiments, pushing the boundaries of his abilities, testing the limits of his control, making time race and crawl, bending the very fabric of reality to his will. He can speed up the seconds, stretching them into an eternity, or compress them into a fleeting moment, feeling a dizzying sense of power. The ability to manipulate time, to control his environment, is intoxicating, a heady rush that threatens to overwhelm him. But the cost is high. The price of control is eternal vigilance. Constant vigilance, a never-ending battle against his own emotions. Emotional neutrality, a suppression of his very being, or risk destruction. One moment of weakness, one flicker of fear, and the room will collapse around him, trapping him in a prison of his own making. He is trapped not just by walls, but by the very nature of his power, but by the volatility of his own mind, a labyrinth of thoughts and emotions that threatens to consume him. Escape is impossible. There is no door, no window, no way out. His prison is himself, a self-made cage of fear and control. Panic peaks, and the room responds, shrinking, constricting, suffocating him with its oppressive presence. The walls and ceiling begin to close in, pressing down on him, stealing his breath, crushing his spirit, shrinking with every beat of his frantic heart. A terrifying feedback loop of fear and confinement. The more he fears, the more the room reflects his terror. The smaller the room becomes, a physical manifestation of his psychological state. A vicious cycle of terror, spiraling downwards into darkness and despair. Desperate, he forces himself to calm down, fighting against the rising tide of panic. Focusing on his breath, a simple act of self-preservation in a world gone mad. Picturing open fields, a vast expanse of green and gold, a symbol of freedom and peace. Slowly, the walls recede, responding to his newfound calm. The ceiling rises, lifting the oppressive weight from his shoulders. He realizes the room mirrors his emotions, a physical manifestation of his inner state. Shrinking with fear, constricting with anxiety, expanding with calm, growing with peace. Arthur is both prisoner and architect, trapped within the confines of his own mind, yet capable of shaping his reality. Of his own cage, the bars forged from his own fears and insecurities. The ticking grows louder, a relentless drumbeat against the silence. Each tick and talk a hammer blow against his sanity, threatening to shatter his fragile hold on reality. He tries to ignore it, to block out the incessant noise that grates on his nerves. But the sound invades his thoughts, seeping into his consciousness, poisoning his mind. Vibrating through the room and his bones, a physical manifestation of his mental anguish. The clock is both judge and jailer, sentencing him to an eternity of confinement, measuring his captivity with cruel precision, each tick a reminder of his lost freedom. He wants to destroy it, to silence the tormenting sound, to break free from its control. But fear holds him back, a primal instinct that whispers of unknown consequences. What if it's the only thing keeping him tethered to reality, the only anchor in a sea of madness? Panic rises. The walls begin to close in once more. The room feels like a tomb, a suffocating chamber where hope goes to die. The clock a countdown to something unknown, a terrifying event that looms on the horizon. He searches for answers, desperately seeking a clue, a sign, anything that might explain his predicament, but finds only the relentless, unchanging reality of his prison. Mocking tick-tock, a constant reminder of his powerlessness. The room is no longer just a space. It's a reflection of his inner turmoil, a physical manifestation of his psychological state. It's a reflection of his unraveling mind, a shattered mirror reflecting a broken soul. Submitted for your approval, the case of Arthur Finch. Arthur Finch, awakening from a void, a blank slate with no past and no future. Into a world of gray, a monochrome existence devoid of color and emotion. He finds himself in a seamless, doorless room, a prison without bars, a cage without walls, no windows to offer a glimpse of the outside world, no furniture to provide comfort or familiarity, only a single clock on the wall, a constant reminder of the passage of time in a timeless void. He checks his pockets. Empty, devoid of any personal belongings. No clues to his identity, no answers to his questions, no past to anchor him to reality, no memories to guide him, no future to strive for, no hope for escape. Just the relentless ticking, a constant reminder of his confinement. He searches for an exit, a way to break free from this sterile prison. But the walls are unbroken, cold, and final, offering no hope of escape. The silence is oppressive, a heavy blanket that smothers his thoughts and amplifies his fears. Broken only by the clock's steady rhythm, a constant reminder of the passage of time in a timeless void. Alone, stripped of identity, Keki adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Arthur's only companion is time, a cruel and indifferent master, counting down to a mystery he cannot name, a fate he cannot escape. Is he a prisoner, a patient, or something else entirely? The answer, like the ticking of the clock, remains elusive and unknowable.